My name is Marisol Rocha. I'm 38 years old and I've lost 70 pounds or 32 kilos. So my issue with weight didn't really start until I moved to New York City, and I just sort of got into like a work hard, play hard kind of lifestyle, which took me away from a lot of my, healthy eating habits growing up. So I quickly packed on 25 pounds within my first year of moving to New York City. After about 6 years in that world, I decided that my health really was taking a turn. So the day after I resigned from my global marketing job, my mom was diagnosed with a stage 4 brain cancer. So my world was completely turned inside out. I immediately went home to help take care of her and spend as much time as I could with her, because I was in the midst of planning my wedding and they said she might not make it. So I lost those 25 pounds for the wedding. But then in the midst of my mom's battle with her brain cancer over 3 years, she ended up fighting, I got married, I started my own business as a life coach, I got pregnant, I had my son, and 5 months after he was born, my mom lost her battle to cancer. So I quickly, I had regained the 25 pounds. I was also diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is a form of hypothyroidism where your immune system attacks your thyroid. I was also told that I had 2 growths in my liver. It just all started snowballing. The weight would get more, the health issues would get more, and it was a really hard time. And I tried to do so many different diets. So I spent the next 5 years, in and out of counting points and, weight loss struggles and weight gains and the whole roller coaster ride, and never really being able to sustain it or keep it. And I would lose 30 pounds and I would gain 40 and I would lose the 30 again. I would gain it back. I finally hit a moment where, you kind of hit rock bottom, and I hit a moment where I was angry all the time. I didn't feel like myself. I didn't recognize who I was inside or out. And so I realized, it's time to really work on this stuff. So I did that. I started tapping into my coaching network. I started working myself with a coach. I tapped into a lot of different modalities, and I just suddenly was really open to figuring this out and to healing. In discovering so many different modalities, I discovered the Gabriel Method. I was so taken by the book right away. It's not about the weight loss. There's this real emotional piece to his work, which I had discovered for myself I needed to do before being able to even lose the weight. So I was immediately drawn in, and what the Gabriel Method provided for me was was a continuation of that piece of the journey, but also now the nutritional and the health and the physical piece that I hadn't been able to conquer myself through doing all these other diets. So I totally embraced John's principle of no deprivation. You want something, you have it, and you don't even feel guilty about it, don't even give it a second thought. And once I understood that if I felt bad about it or I deprived myself, then a whole other slew of things were happening in my body that was making me hold on to the weight. Knowing that gave me the permission to be able to just say, I want something sweet, I'm gonna have something sweet, but I'm also, what does that mean? Why am I craving that? I really started to get to that magic place where my body just stopped asking for the things that it wasn't supposed to have, and it wanted more and more of the nutrient-filled foods that I was giving it. His library of visualizations was another really powerful addition to my journey. It's incredible to me that by taking the time in the day to be able to have that internal communication through visualization, that your body really starts to respond and your emotions start to shift as well. One of the cornerstone pieces for me was when I did the Gabriel Method detox about a year ago. And when you stop your digestion for 5 days, but you're nourishing while you're doing it, it was just such a gentle process. And when I came out of the detox, what was astonishing to me is that is really when all of my cravings went away. And I truly believe that it was, having changed my chemistry. It changed my chemistry, and it was a culmination of the work that I had been doing all along. I had lost about 10 pounds doing it myself, and then I did the detox, and next thing I knew, over the next 6 months, I just started dropping weight, like John says, in quantum leaps. I had been used to methods where you were expecting a ½ pound a week, 2 pounds a week, and here it was, I would drop 4 pounds, 5 pounds, and then I would sort of stay for a month. and then I would suddenly drop 8 pounds, and then I would stay for another month. And I started to focus more on my health, and I wanted to find out, how do I put my Hashimoto's into remission? How do I stop getting, rosacea and my skin feeling so itchy all the time? And so I went on this just health journey, and I started to discover that I was intolerant to certain foods. And when I cleaned those out, even healthy foods, I have histamine intolerance, so I had to cut out tomatoes, and I've had to cut out vinegar, and I've had to cut out different things. But my body responded so incredibly once I realized what it needed, not necessarily what the world thinks is healthy or that it needs. Spring came around, and I was bracing myself for the spring allergies, and nothing came. And so this has gone beyond my weight. It's really changed so much in my life because, to be able to enjoy May through June and not feel nervous of walking outside or being uncomfortable, it really impacts you on so many levels. At the beginning of the journey, I really didn't feel very motivated to exercise at all. And it was encouraging when John kind of said, that's okay, until you turn off your fat programs, that is something that you really want to kind of keep at bay and just focus on the internal healing. I wanted to get into something, but I didn't want it to feel like exercise, so I started to go to Zumba class. I really did it once a week. I didn't lose a lot of the weight exercising very much. I would say I lost the first 50 pounds solely on just the visualizations and adding the healthy things into my diet. I got into yoga because I wanted to keep on that journey of the internal healing, and I wanted to really stretch and strengthen. So I knew that getting to the gym and lifting weights wasn't going to be the way for me. My eating has changed a lot. I always loved vegetables, and I always ate them, but I would forget to eat. I would railroad through the day and not eat anything, and then when the kids went to bed, I would eat like anything and everything, and that's when a lot of the sugar cravings would come in, and I'd have soda and I would have sweets. And so with the Gabriel Method, I really at first started to consciously pace myself and eat, every few hours, and I really made sure to follow John's principles of incorporating what he calls the big 3 into every meal. So I made sure I had a healthy lean protein. I made sure I had healthy fats, preferably with omega-3s, and I made sure that I had living food, so live food, fruits and vegetables. And having that mix was really wonderful for me because I didn't have to worry about how much of it I was having. I was concerned at first, is there an equation? Do you have to have it this way? Do you have to have this proportion to that proportion like other diets do? And really it is, you have as much or as little as you want, but make sure you have an element of all 3 in. And then eventually, as the Gabriel Method teaches, is that you don't have to say, okay, I'm going to eat every 2 hours. You start to really listen to when you're hungry. So across with my kids, across with my work, across with my relationship, even with my family and my friends, I'm just so much more present and so much more open and so much more me again, which I hadn't felt in almost 10 years. I've lost all this weight having more fat than I have ever had in my life. And it's just, I feel so nourished and I feel so healthy. In a way that when I had lost weight before in the roller coaster ride, I just never felt good. My health wasn't great even though I had lost 30 pounds, a few times. And now I really feel like, I'm healthy, I'm helping my body, I'm nourishing my body, and it just brings joy like all around.